Two quick notes before we get into this video. The 92 to 96 Camry and the 97 to 2001 Camry door handles are slightly different, but they are close enough that this video should help you get them installed. Secondly, I also sped this video up. It was done intentionally. It was done to get you as much information in a shorter period as possible. If you would like to slow the video down, go to the bottom of the video and look into the section for the settings and slow down the video. Now, let's get into the video.
All right, the secret to keeping an older car alive is keeping all of those widgets and gizmos working inside the vehicle. And in this case, it's not actually a widget and gizmo that we're trying to keep working. We've got to try to get the interior door handle and exterior door handle replaced on this car. So come along and we'll talk about it. All right, so I'll say this. On the 3rd and 4th gen Camrys, 92 to 96 and then from 97 until 2001, probably the Achilles heel of these Camrys probably was the door handles and some of the trim pieces that they put into these vehicles. I'm not going to say they were subpar, but they weren't really great. But my favorite supplier, where I buy a lot of my stuff, rockauto.com, has generally a good supply and a good supplier for these parts. I've inspected these parts. They're by a company called Ultra Power, and they're made in Taiwan. And I know I have talked bad about Dorman in the past. Dorman is one of the only manufacturers I think that I've seen to make these, and it is actually the trim bezel that goes around the interior door latch. Now, I have taken these out and inspected them, looked at them, made sure that they were okay. You can order the interior door trim panel, which is this piece, and the door handle in the original appropriate color to match the interior of the vehicle. All of these components are made in Taiwan. I have generally found that products made in Taiwan are of better quality. That goes for everything on down to tools made in Taiwan. Taiwan has been probably the world's supplier of this kind of product for longer than China has. I know I've seen stuff made in Taiwan all the way back into the 70s, and their products, they seem to have a better quality control. Now, is it OEM quality? I don't know. But when it's made of unobtainium and you can get it through this company, Ultra Power, and they're making replacements for these cars, I think I paid, I'd have to go back and look at the invoice, but it wasn't more than about $5 to $7 for this handle and something similar for this handle. They're not really that expensive. So, anyway, let's pull this one out and I'll talk about it. This is the exterior door handle, and the only way that I know that it comes is in black. I don't know that you can get it in a white plastic. So what that means is, since I'm dealing with a white car, I'm going to have to scuff it up, prep it, clean it, and I will have to paint it. So anyway, that's enough talking about the parts. Let's go ahead and get into tearing this thing down. It's really pretty simple. All right, so in order to go ahead and get ready to do this door, I thought it might be a better idea before I start tearing into the door that we go ahead and get this prepped, dried, and painted before we dive into that. That way I can put it out in the sun and it should be ready to install. Now, before you do anything with these door handles, you need to wash them in some warm, soapy water. I've got some Dawn out here, and main reason is I like to use the Dawn is the product that they use as a mold release to get the plastic out of the molds after they produce them, before they put them together. Well, you can have some of that stuff residual left, and it doesn't allow paint to stick to it. So just get it wet, give it a little shot of your soap, and just take a paper towel or whatever you got, a rag, whatever, just give it a quick scrub down, and that help get that any kind of greases or oils or mold release agents off of the plastic so that your paint will stick. And then just give it a quick rinse. And if you have, like I do, compressed shop air to take and blow it dry, that was best. And if you don't, well, you can see a spot that might need to be scrubbed a little more. Yeah, that's better. If you don't have any compressed shop air or at the house, just take it and sit it out in the sun for a few minutes. The time of year it is right now, this won't take long to dry. So let me go over it, get my shop air, and I'll be right back. All right, now I'm going to use a little, when I found that when I need to sand something like this, that quadruple alt, 4 alt steel wool works pretty good on this plastic. It's not too aggressive. It'll do a good job of just putting a light scuff into the plastic to get it to where it'll hold paint. Now, with all that said, they also make a adhesion promoter that you can use with plastic, which I don't have any right now, and I've got to go in here and find my can of white paint. I'm pretty sure I have one, but this may be all for nothing if I can't come up with my white paint. So anyway, let's just give it a light scuff, and then we're going to actually wash it again after we scuff it up. See how it's changing from shiny to dull. That will give paint something to bite into. Now there's going to be some places that when you lift the handle that you're probably not going to be able to get the paint into, and that's okay. I mean, this is an older car. We're just trying to make it presentable and just make it viable for a few more years. So, as you can see, that has taken all the sheen off of the plastic, so that should be sufficient to get the paint to stick. Back in there in the water, a little quick rinse, get a little more soap, quick one more scrub. Rinse it off. Now, go hit it with a compressed air again, and we'll be ready. Alright, well, we've got us a good old-fashioned metal coat hanger. Got her hung up in the tree. And give her a quick coat. Alright, that's all it takes for your first coat. So we won't get carried away and run it off on the ground. So we'll let that sit for 5 or 10 minutes out here in this heat. That ought to be tacked up. Alright, while that paint's setting up, we can go ahead and begin to take the door panel off. And I can go over real quick on this model where everything is. This is a 99 Camry. And where are you? You're here somewhere. There it is. There's a push button little tab here. There's a plug here that you remove, and there's a Phillips head screw there. And underneath this handle here, there are 2 holes. I checked mine earlier, and I have a screw here in one of the holes that's under here. Stick your head down there and you'll see it. And there's supposed to be one here, I believe, but somebody may have had this door panel off and they didn't put it back in. Also, behind this little trim cover is also a screw, Phillips head. And you have one Phillips head screw here that holds this little trim plate on. And once we get the door panel off, I can show you some other things. This panel is trim panel is held on very simply. It pops up in the back, slide it forward a little bit, and it pops right out. Then you have some push tabs, push them in, well, get it. Sometimes it helps to seat it in all the way, and then pull it, push the button in and pull it out. Make sure it's in all the way, push the button, and then pull it out. And your controls come loose. Now, release, whoop, the middle screwdriver. Your tab out here on the end, this little tab right, whoa, give me while I fall down. This little tab right there, you push straight in on the center, and that's all it takes to release it. You take a little screwdriver, and then you just stick it behind it, and it pulls straight out. Now you can, to reset it, you push it back like this, push it back through, and then put it back in the hole, and push it till it's flat, and that's all there is to that one. Now, let's see, let's get to this one. Let's take this plug out. Put the screwdriver back together. Just gentle, steady pressure, it'll come out. Should be a Phillips head screw. I may have to go, oh, no, I'm just barely going to be able to get it. Sometimes you need a longer screwdriver to reach up in there and get stuff. Now, you don't generally have to worry about taking and pulling the screw out. You can just leave the screw in the door panel. Just pay attention when you're taking the door panel off, because a lot of times they'll fall out and hit the ground. Now, you've got one, and this one goes up at a kind of an angle. And you just have to feel around in there. You see, it's kind of at an angle. Almost a, I don't want to say 45, but maybe a 30-degree angle. And this one may come out because it's on an angle. Bump it. Nope, it's not coming out. Alright. And as I said over here on this one, you take a gently, put a flathead screwdriver behind it and pop it off. Just be careful. There you go. It's just a little trim screw cover. The Phillips head screw right there. Let's see if make sure the camera's catching that. Right there. Just pop a little cover off. Just screw will come right out, and it's got a special little head and washer on it that holds that trim piece. Now, to remove this, there's a push pin right here at the top. So all you have to do is pull out on it just a little bit, and then it slides straight up. The tab, it drops in a little square, and it pops in place. Also, very simple. Now, that should be everything. Whoop, I almost forgot one right here. This trim panel in the center. Phillips head screw. Take it out. Now that should be everything. Let's see if this is going to come out. Most of the time these things break like that, because there's a special method for taking this piece off, and it's just not worth it since I've already got one to replace it for this broken piece. So I'll just get it out of the way. Alright, to get the door panel loose, sometimes you have to take a regular screwdriver and slide in under the bottom edge and pry it out. Let me see. Memory may be failing me. Let me get down here and look. Make sure there's not some more of those push pins. No, there's 2 screws. Helps to look. It's been a minute since I took the door panel off, fellas. Fillettes. Seems like I did it on the 96, and it's just a little bit different than this one. So, if you start pulling on, prying on something and it doesn't move, take a minute, stop, figure out what's going on. So, let's try that. Oh yeah, see, that's a lot better. Now, it's popping right off. You've got some little push tabs, and I'll show you those in a second. And then once you get it to where it's swinging like this, and you should be able to, like that, lift straight up. All the little broken trinkets and bracketry falling out of there. Yeah, see, there's push pins, but you know, they're 25, 20, whatever years old, and they're starting to break. So, let me get it flipped around here. This is one of the push pins I'm talking about, and this is one of the ones that's broken right here. Generally, these door panels are fine as long as you have one at the bottom on that corner by the speaker, because you have enough screws that this panel is held in place. So, set this panel out of your way. Let's take a look at what fell out. It's mostly broken pieces from this piece right here. Let's see, this piece, where did this come from? Pretty sure, well, I'm not pretty sure. Maybe it's here. I believe it is, because that's where that push pin goes in right there. We'll know when I go to put it back together, and it won't go back together if it's right or wrong, huh? But I'm pretty sure this little piece goes right here, so that push pin has something to lock into. And this was just a broken piece of the old door latch. And you can see there's a floppy rod, and we got one screw there, and that handle comes off. Alright. Slides forward, not backwards. Okay. So, take that screw out, slide it forward, and it comes right out. Alright, this, all you have to do is rotate it around, and it slides right out of your lock rod, and then you can twist it back in place. Nothing to it. The tricky part on this, let's just take that out. The tricky part on this whole project is actually this internal door handle. That's the hard part. So, since we're almost ready for that internal door handle, let's go add a second coat of paint. Okay, this is kind of the tricky part here. This is where, and then you see that there's a screw right there. And let's see if I can drop you down enough. And there's a screw right there. It's not wanting to focus, but it's up inside the door. You can see it. Now, what you have to do is there's a track that runs along here, and there's a bolt right there on the outer edge of the door. So what you have to do is you have to loosen this bolt down here and get this track out of the way to enable you to get access to this screw right here. So I'm going to set up a wide angle shot, and it's pretty self-explanatory. If you've done anything mechanical before, it's not too hard to figure out. Okay, now that we have removed the looks to be factory original door handle from the passenger door, Houston, we have a problem. This one comes with these screws which actually thread into the plastic. The unit I got to replace it actually has inserts for machine screws, so I've got to come up with some metric machine screws to put this door handle back on. So let me go dig in my stash and see what I can come up with. Well, I almost forgot to hit the record button again, but I went and dug in my stash, and this is why us mechanics keep little widgets and screws and little extra pieces. I found 3 screws. I've already got one of them started. There's a metal bar that holds across the back of the lock and holds the lock in to keep somebody from coming up and trying to punch it out. Makes it a little harder anyway. So anyway, my hands are dirty. I'm probably going to booger this up, and I hope I don't get it too nasty. The paint feels dry, so I should be able to clean it with a little degreaser once I get it done. But it's the thing of dealing with white paint in an old car. I'm out of gloves at the moment, so you just have to be what it is. But you go up in at an angle like that, and boom, she drops back into place. So there, I didn't have to handle it too much. Now, go around to the other side, and I'll show you a tech tip on trying to get these bolts back started. All right, 2 quick things that I forgot to mention when taking. You remember I mentioned there was a door track down here, and there's just 1 bolt over here on the side. Well, I've neglected to realize that there was a nut up here that allows this piece to come out, and you twist it that way, and then you slide it out the door. Okay, it's got the window felt lining, this piece, and you just take and peel it out, and there's nothing really to it. And assembling it is basically doing the opposite of what you did to take it out. Now, one of the things that I also failed to mention, thought it'd be a good idea to mention, there's a panel on this door. It's a reinforcing panel, and it has 3 screws on it. And basically all you do is you take those 2 screws out and loosen this screw, and then you can let that piece flop and just let it hang down. It won't be in your way. So now, to get these screws back started in this door, what you've got to have is a 10mm. Okay, and you take your 10mm socket. So this is just an old piece of receipt paper. That'll work fine. Piece of paper towel works pretty good. Fold it in half, lay it over the top of the socket like so. Take your fastener, find and line it up, and just push it down in there like that. Okay, hold the socket like this, and then just basically just tear the excess paper off from around. Now look at your bolt. Keeps your bolt from falling out while you're fiddling around in there trying to get it started in this handle. So let's see if we can get this going. I can see it, but can I get to it? That is the question. No, there it is. Whoop, pushing the handle out. Push the handle out the other side. I was hoping it would bite before it did that. I may need a longer screw because of that little bracket that I talked about, the metal piece that keeps the lock from getting pushed through. That makes it where I need a slightly longer bolt. So let me see if I can get this other one started right here. Oh, we're going to drop the whole rig, but let me show you something pretty cool. I dropped the whole rig, and look, the bolt didn't even fall off. Let's see. It'll be a 2-handed operation, looks like, to get everything lined up. I think it started. It did. It started. And to get your socket off, once you got it tight, hand tight, is just wiggle it a little bit, and then it'll come off. Now let me run over here and let me see if I can find a slightly longer bolt to get it started in this hole. Okay, same trick. Still got my paper folded over there. Just gonna drape it across the top of the socket, double folded. I'll take my bolt, line it up, force it down in there, and then just tear the paper away, and there you go. It'll hold it. All right. My flashlight where I can see what in the world I'm doing. Okay. I can get this baby started. And there it went. Perfect. Now, go ahead and snug it down. I'll just walk it around in a little circle like that, and there it comes right out. Now I need to tighten this one up. You don't need to get carried away, just need to be snug down. And we have to get our arm. There's a metal rod. See if I don't know if I can show you or not. We'll try. There's a metal arm right here. Okay. Ooh, come on, fingers. See your metal arm right there? Well, it actually attaches. This is for the operator for the handle. I don't know if we'll be able to see it, but we're going to give it our best shot. Nope, we're not going to be able to show you. A light up in there where I can see. There it went. Get up in there. Alright, after we're done, maybe I can get a good camera angle in there. Okay. There's a bail that flips around. Alright, there it is. I can see it, but can I give you enough light? Alright, there it is. That rod has to go through that arm, and then that little plastic trim piece has a latch that folds down around it to keep it from coming undone from the handle. Nothing to it. Seeing this stuff in person makes a big difference. Watching a YouTube video gives you an idea, but once you actually dive in and start doing this stuff, then it'll make more sense to you. So now that we've got that handle back on, let's see if the door is locked or unlocked. That I don't know. Let's trip the latch. And this is how you test it. It seems to be locked. Let's see which one of these. There it went. That was it. Yep, there it is. That's how you test the door. Don't ever test it by closing it, because once you've closed it and this thing's a problem and it doesn't work, then you've got big problems. So always test it by taking like a flat Phillips head screwdriver and just pushing your latch closed, and then reaching and grabbing your handle and seeing that it works before you close the door. Okay, now let's see. We need to move on to the interior door handle, but we've got to put some of this stuff back together first. So let's get this plastic back on here. This is just a simple little moisture barrier, because doors, contrary to popular belief, are not really all that waterproof. They're designed so that water goes down the outside and into the actual interior of the door, and then drains out the bottom to the outside of the vehicle. A lot of people think that a door is supposed to be perfectly sealed and never gets water in it. No, the inside of a door sees water all the time when it gets rained on. So let's put this reinforcing panel back. No, wait a minute, I'm about to mess up here. Hang on. Getting ahead of myself. I didn't put the window track back. Alright, see how I'm doing it there? Just taking and putting that window rubber, and I'm just sliding this piece right on back up that window rubber, and it should help it go right back into place. And where's my bolts? There it is. Come on. Look for it. Little stud will come through right there when I find it. There it is. Come on. Come on. Twist it into place. Come on. It's very close. Try to get my hand up there to it. Here we go. There it is. Sometimes you got to reach up in the door. Just be careful reaching up in the door. There's a lot of sharp edges that'll get you. Just hand tighten that nut, and then this piece down here at the bottom, and just move it around, because you can reach right here and grab it and line it back up. Take your finger, run along there, make sure that that window rubber is in place, and it is. And snug this up, and snug this up. Now we can move on to putting this panel back together. So, almost a ding dong. All right, just two little bitty short screws, and the third one, like I said, that I just loosened to let this little reinforcing panel hang down. Not sure exactly why it's here, just know that it is. Everything doesn't have to be monstrously tight, you just want to tighten up that things don't rattle. Okay. Got that little plastic piece that goes there. I'm trying not to knock it off when I put the door panel back on. Okay. Now, your rods, there's a slit in this plastic for those rods to come through. One is for the actual, see, that's the lock right there. And this is to release the door handle itself. Or the door latch itself. So, let's get the new handle and get it installed. All right, you've got two little plastic pieces. Remember how I pulled them off earlier? But first we got to get these rods reinstalled. So, let's see, how do we do that? Pull that handle out. Let's see, drop the rod down in and let it pivot like that. Nothing to it. Now this one, I'm not sure about. Do we need to do this one first? Or do we need to do them at the same time? No, there it went. I got it. Okay. You just have to line it up and let them pivot around. Alright, take and line these two little tabs up and then slide it back, just like that. Alright, I'm going to put the one screw in it. As soon as I find my screwdriver, there it is. Put the one screw in here. I don't think that was the screw that was in it. Maybe it is. Alright, put this one screw in here. Plug our lock switch panel back up. This is not wanting to move. Don't know why that is. Moving a little, it's just not moving a lot. Let's see, let's test it and see if it works. Okay, appears to be locked. Right now?
Yes.
Alright, well, it's the next day. And as you can see there at the end of that last clip, my daughter came out and was ready to go to work, and I didn't have her car put back together. Fortunately, I had enough of this put back together that we could close the door and the door would operate if she needed it. But she doesn't carry anybody. She's just going to work. So the next morning, we're here, finish this little job up, put this door panel back on. Not a whole lot to it, but I did want to finish it out so we were complete. Now, let's see if we can get this little piece to cooperate and stay in that hole while we put this door panel back on. It's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Basically, if you look right here, it's got a lip, wraps over, and it just folds right in the top of this door ledge. So basically just line your piece back up, grab your wires. You're going to have two wires to plug in for your door lock switch and your window motor, and just get them pulled over the top and then just push it into place. And then you're going to try to feel around and make sure that your pins line up. Oh, there it went. And this one will pop back in place. Now, let's just hope that that didn't fall out. Remember this little push pin here? It slides in and just push the centerpiece in until it's flush. And that's all there is to it. We have a single screw. It goes right here. Remember it had the special little head that held the decorative button on it. Simple little Phillips head. So a couple threads by hand. Don't get carried away, just snug it up. And the little decorative button just pops right back on. Okay, so I don't think these screws, did they fall out? I may have to go hunt them. Remember I talked about not letting these screws get away from you. And I may have let them get away from me. It's not in there. But this one is. So we can go ahead and switch this around to the bigger Phillips. Alright, let me walk over here and see where I dropped my Phillips head screw. No worries. Down the screw was where I had to get in a hurry to get everything out of the way so that she could go to work. There we go. That screwdriver is just barely long though. Alright, and if you look at the plug, because it's got an angle, you look right here, there's a little notch in the plug, and if you look right here, there's a little notch in that hole. So all you need to do is line them up and push it in, and there you go, nice and flush. 2 screws at the bottom, and we've got the 1 screw that goes right in the middle here over the decorative piece. So we'll put that on in a minute. Let's put these screws in the bottom first. I have to stand on my head. Did it partially by braille. We'll do this one completely by braille and see if we can do it. Yeah, almost. Come on. You have to cheat and actually look. There it went. As a mechanic, we spend a lot of our days working by braille. Let's go ahead and put this piece in. If you see the lineup's little pin. Pop. And let me go find, no, we won't need to find the trim piece yet. Let's go ahead, plug this in. Plug in window motor. This slides in. I tell you what, I don't have it yet to figure out what to do about this. Every generation, every 3rd and 4th gen Camry I've ever seen, this piece of vinyl peels away from underneath this window switch, both driver and passenger doors, and I don't know what the fix is for it. Everyone I've ever seen in the junkyard, my dad's, everybody's that I've ever seen, that happens. It is what it is. Now let me go get that trim piece, and we'll pop it in and put the last screw in. Okay, so we've got our last piece of trim here. Our bag. If you look right here, here and here, on top and bottom, there's a little post that this pops on, and you have to kind of get it in there, lock it in place, and roll it in. It's kind of funky, but get it in. Come on, there it went. That's why it's so hard to get off, and most times break. Whoa, didn't mean to knock you over. That's why it's so hard to get in there, and most of the time breaks. I may end up back in here figuring out why this lock is kind of sticky. I don't understand why. It moves free until you hit the switch. Sometimes when you're dealing with aftermarket stuff, it ends up being a problem. That's okay. If I have to go back in it, I have to go back in it. It is what it is. Sometimes that's the way of life. And sometimes you butterfinger. Come here. Let's try this again. And ta-da! Now, let's put the keys in ignition to make sure the window goes up and down like it's supposed to. Window works. Well, the more I've used it, the better it's gotten, so maybe I won't have to go back in it. But sometimes that's the way it is when you're dealing with aftermarket parts. They have a decent look to them, they do function. The way this mechanism is set up, in my opinion, it takes too much effort to activate this latch handle. But it's back together, and it works, and it doesn't look too bad. I wish I could find some more door panels that don't have the cigarette burns. I was able to get the cigarette smoke out of this car. It doesn't smell like anything but a vintage 99 Camry. No cigarette smoke. So until I can get out another video showing you how to fix and keep your old stuff on the road, why don't you go watch another video coming on the screen.